Ah, yes. I just love this time of year. The sky is bluer, the grass is greener, and your ring finger's a little shinier. Yep, that's right. It is engagement season. If you didn't think there was such a season, there is. You can trust me, I'm a therapist. Anyway, so with getting engaged, with all the excitement, there is so much to learn in such a short amount of time. Whether you're engaged for a few days, a few months, or even a few years, there are a lot of things to get through before the wedding day. And one of those things, it seems like, is almost universal across the world, is really terrible marriage advice. You know the person I'm talking about. It's probably your great Aunt Carol, who's been telling you everything there is to know about keeping your wife happy and keeping your man fed. Whatever it is, there are a ton of pieces of terrible marriage advice. And today I just thought it would be a lot of fun to go over some of my most favorite pieces of terrible advice. So let's get into it. First of all, congratulations on getting engaged. Cheers to you, that's really exciting news. By the way, this is sparkling water. You didn't send me champagne, so I gotta make do with what I have. Marriage advice, no matter what type it is, usually comes from a good place in the heart, or a really cynical place in the heart. Both are possible. This first piece of terrible marriage advice usually comes from the good place in the heart, and it usually comes from somebody who's been married a lot longer than you, like longer than you've been alive. And as well-meaning as it is, it's still not a very good piece of marriage advice, and you've probably heard it already. Don't go to bed angry. Now, believe it or not, this is actually rooted in a Bible verse talking about how you shouldn't let the sun go down on your disputes, but nowhere in there does it talk about being married whatsoever. Now, the reason that this is bad marriage advice is because, to be honest, it's unrealistic. Arguments are going to arise in your marriage, but the window for resolving a dispute, especially a big one, and trust me, there will be big ones, is maybe smaller than you think. The average time to settle an argument between you and a significant other, or you and a spouse, is about an hour. After an hour, you've pretty well gone through all of the argument that you're gonna have, you've pretty well gone through all of the defenses you're gonna have, and now you've dug into your position. And you know, whenever that happens, let's face it, you're not gonna get anything taken care of. Now, you couple all of this with maybe a long day at work, a long day with the family, a long day just period, and now you're tired, 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., whatever it is, sometimes it's better just to go to bed angry. Look, you love each other. You know that's true, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be getting married. But tired people don't argue fairly. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. Agree to call a truce, and we'll talk about it in the morning. And you'll be surprised, if you do go to bed, wake up, often you'll have a new perspective on things. Your brain is a little bit more refreshed, you emotionally are more refreshed, and now you're more focused on getting towards a resolution. You're not gonna be fighting forever, right? But sometimes the best medicine is sleep. Now, on that note, this is a perfect segue into my second piece of terrible advice. Arguing is a sign of a bad marriage. We're human, and humans are gonna fail. We don't mean to fail each other, but we are doomed to failure. And you know, sometimes that failure can be catastrophic, and sometimes that failure can be as simple as forgetting the keys at the house. We hurt our spouse's feelings. We don't mean to hurt our spouse's feelings. That's the last thing we want to do, but sometimes it does happen. Hurt feelings, conflict, confrontation, all of these things are kind of honestly part of the fun of being married. It's part of the process of navigating how to be a better married couple. So then arguing is a totally normal thing to do. All couples argue. All couples argue. If you care about your relationship, chances are you're probably gonna argue with your spouse. So it's totally normal. Matter of fact, the opposite is actually true in this case, because it shows that neither one of you are engaged in the relationship and neither one of you are making any effort in a relationship. Again, hurt feelings are part of the process, but not arguing about it means that they're dealing with it internally and they're not talking about it. They're not communicating with each other. This is a sign of an unhealthy couple. Not the first sign, not the only sign, but definitely a sign. So don't avoid the conflict. Instead, take it head on, but together. She is not the enemy. He is not the enemy. You both are gonna work this out together. And again, fight fairly. Oh man, whenever I read this next piece of terrible marriage advice, I honestly couldn't believe that a real person with real words out of their real mouth said this to a real other person, you know, with other, anyway. The third piece of terrible marriage advice is this. Enjoy it now, because the fun don't last. Wait, I can't, It's not strong enough. It's not strong enough. Oh man. To be honest with you, my head kind of hurt after I saw this one. So we've all heard the song, right? You're kissing in a tree, KISS, you know the rest. But the thought behind this is that marriage is only fun for the first few years, and then after that, it's total hell and chaos. First, let me just say this. If you knew that marriage was only fun for the first few years, and then after that, the next like 50 to 60 years, it's terrible, would you still want to get married? Chances are no. I wouldn't want to get married if I knew that. Look, marriage isn't easy. Marriage isn't supposed to be easy. You're combining your life with someone else. It's gonna have its ups and downs, but the fun doesn't stop just because you have kids or you take on financial responsibilities like buying a house or buying a car. Marriage is going to be fun. The fun part of marriage is that you get to experience life and all these cornerstone moments, these huge moments like having kids and having a house and starting a family and building a family. You're gonna experience all of those things with the person you married. That's exciting to me, I think. So the fourth piece of terrible marriage advice is this: you can always get divorced. Oh man, I'm gonna be honest. This is getting tough. First of all, let's just whoever says this to you just shouldn't even be invited to the wedding. If they're telling you to already look for the back door in your relationship, like how good of a friend are they really? Is this a man, I got a headache now. Look, I could make a whole separate video and rant about divorce statistics. Marriage, number one above everything else, is a commitment. And we make commitments to things and to people that matter to us. Whenever you get married, essentially what you're saying is that person standing next to you matters, and they matter so much that you want to live the rest of your life with them. How would you feel if that person you were marrying and you were telling mattered to you had one eye on you and one eye on the back door of your relationship, always looking for that easy out? Look, the trouble with this one is if you're constantly telling yourself that you could always get divorced, to me what it sounds like is that you're not ready for marriage. You're not ready for a real commitment. And if somebody has said this to you, or if this is the mindset that you have or that your partner has, my really strong encouragement to this is have a conversation about how serious you are about your relationship. Getting married is a really big deal. Committing to each other is a really big deal. You don't want somebody who's got one foot in and one foot out. That does not set your marriage up for success. It does not set your relationship up for success. I cannot stress that enough. That is why that is a really terrible piece of advice. Oh, goodness. The fifth terrible piece of marriage advice is marriage is easy when you find the one. So let's talk about the one for just a second. It's a very romantic idea. It's also a very unrealistic idea. Think about this for just a second. If you don't marry the one, let's say that you accidentally married someone else's one. Well, then that person's got to marry someone else's one, and then that person's got to marry someone else's one, and then, you know, there's 7 billion people on the planet. The consequences could be catastrophic if you're marrying someone else's one and then you set off a chain of events where everyone's marrying the wrong person. As romantic of an idea as it is, that's all it is just a romantic idea that exists only in books and rom-coms. There are a lot of things that go into a healthy relationship dynamic. There are a lot of things that go into how you find the person that's a great fit for you. So I don't know what we're talking about whenever we talk about the definition of easy. Is it less arguments, less financial troubles, less just overall relational issues? There's a lot of things that we could fit underneath that definition, and it's different for everyone. So whatever easy is, it doesn't exist. Now, I find my relationship enjoyable, and chances are you find your relationship enjoyable, but it's not gonna be easy. So while it is a romantic idea, that's all it is just a romantic idea. So you've heard this last one before. It's probably one of my most favorite pieces of terrible advice ever, and especially if you've grown up in the South like I have, you heard it a lot. Grandfathers pass it on to fathers, pass it on to their sons. It is a handed down piece of information. Unfortunately, it's a terrible piece of information, but you've heard it before. Say it with me. Happy wife, happy life. Now, I've heard it a couple different ways. I've heard happy wife, happy life. I've also heard if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. The problem with this particular piece of advice is that it puts a lot of pressure on mama or the wife. You're basically avoiding all conflict in order to keep her happy. The problem with that is that can breed resentment. Whenever you don't bring issues up to your spouse, or whenever you don't talk about the things that are bothering you for fear that it might upset her, what you're doing is you're stockpiling a lot of issues in here. You're keeping it all bottled up, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're frustrated because you don't like the way she crunches her tortilla chips, and now you're going off on this tirade. It puts a lot of stuff on them, and you're making them responsible for the well-being of the relationship. You don't hold stuff in. You resolve it as soon as you can. So while it is nice to have a happy spouse or to have a happy mama, it's not necessarily the end-all be-all for an overall healthy or happy relationship. So, which piece of terrible marriage advice have you heard the most of? Was it one of the ones that I listed, or was it a different one? Let me know down in the comments. There is so many terrible pieces of marriage advice. I could honestly do a second, third, and fourth video, but for now we'll just keep it to these 6. So again, let me know down in the comments which one you like the most, which one maybe you've heard the most, or maybe add another one that you've heard before, and we can kind of do it, you know, we can kind of stockpile some more for another video. I know for me, the one that I heard the most was the don't go to bed angry one. Anyway, I hope you had as much fun as I did kind of going over some of these. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm definitely going to be making more of these types of videos. I'm just having way too much fun with them, and we'll see you next time.